Well, if I wasn't depressed before, I sure am now. Holy moly, what a film. Spoilers ahead. Manchester by the Sea sits on the opposite end of the spectrum from flashy, action packed movies. What I'm trying to say is that this film is as raw as the deepest fibers of our hearts. I don't think I've ever seen depression portrayed so masterfully. A quick summary if you haven't watched it or you just don't remember a lot. A grieving janitor returns to his hometown after his brother's death, confronting painful memories and the responsibility of caring for his teenage nephew while dealing with loss, guilt, and the struggle to find redemption. When most people think about depression, they usually think about the stereotypically sad mood, like getting fired from a job or breaking up with your girlfriend. And while those can lead to depression, most of the time it's just a feeling that eventually passes. Oh, and disclaimer, I'm going to talk about depression, so if it's a sensitive topic for you, you may skip ahead. Depression is a constant, chronic, and ironically enough, sometimes life feels like it's got a bone to pick with you, piling one unfortunate event after another. Being depressed doesn't mean you never experience flashes of joy. It just means that in the grand scheme of things, everything feels bland, like cheap bread. And in Lee's case, he has every right to feel like crap because it's a crappy situation, and I'm avoiding a much harsher word for it. You can imagine what it is. Having your two children burn alive just because something you may or may not have done is a feeling I wouldn't wish on the worst person on earth. Then comes the divorce, the judgment from his hometown, and the move to Boston where he lives in a shoebox, essentially, and quietly acquiesces to the tenant's complaints. What a life, huh? And to top it all off, his brother dies. What's fascinating about this film is how it portrays such situations in such a real, honest to life way. Lee handles what happens around him the same way he deals with his tenants' complaints, one at a time, without thinking too much into it. He handles a tragedy the same way he handles a clogged toilet. At this point, he's simply existing, as a lot of people do. I've been there. In a way, his decision to keep living is essentially an act of rebellion, of defiance. Life has done everything to push him down, yet barely wanting to, he chooses to stay. The film is quiet and hauntingly real at times. Grief is exactly what it looks like here. I lost my dad when I was 12, and the way Patrick reacts to this whole situation is pretty accurate. Crying in front of a frozen chicken is what grief looks like. It doesn't always make sense. The truth is, death is just a moment. Everyone's sad for a few days or weeks, then life resumes. Some carry grief longer and deal with it in different ways. Lee knows that. He gives Patrick space, but at the same time, there are still things to take care of, documents to sign, funerals to organize, boats to fix. The film also shows a very legit portrayal of a teenager. Yes, his dad died, but he still wants to be with his girlfriends, play music, hang out. He loves his uncle, and his uncle loves him too. In the end, they really only have each other. His now reformed mom and her husband aren't really helpful, and that awkward email limits their involvement even further. As much as Lee tries to overcome the shadow looming over him, he realizes that he can't, and it's okay. Sometimes it takes longer to be ready to go back, and sometimes it's never the right time. He doesn't want to punish his nephew by dragging him back to Boston, so he finds a middle ground. By the end, Lee's life, though still inside of a crab sandwich, gets slightly better. He wants a bigger place with room for Patrick. In a way, it symbolizes his new openness to change, to give himself a chance. Production wise, it's brilliant. It looks as cold as a New England winter morning, and the scenery is just stunning. In a way, it says, a place this beautiful can also hold literal pain for someone. That dichotomy is just powerful. The acting is stellar. It's really hard to pull off being depressed, actually. Some actors can pull off sadness, but depression is a whole different deal. Casey Affleck did a tremendous job, and the rest of the cast nailed the nuances of their characters, especially Lucas Hedges. The direction is slow-paced but agile, knowing when to give moments more space and when not to. The flashbacks were executed beautifully. I love that they didn't rely on a narrator. If you're not watching closely, you're gonna miss small details that mean the world. In terms of rewatchability, I'd give it a solid 92%. I'll definitely watch it again to catch the smaller details that I most likely missed. Although, to be honest, this isn't the movie that you put on after a long, exhausting day. I'll tell you that much. Manchester by the Sea is a strong portrayal of strong, complex emotions happening to complex characters. Characters who feel real. It doesn't downplay depression or tragedy, but shows them with humility. Redemption isn't always a 180-degree turn. Sometimes just moving the needle a few degrees is the bravest act in the world. And likely, maybe it's time to give ourselves a little bit of room for that too. As always, thank you for watching. See you next time.